So apparently these guys don't realize that we're farther along in the series and we need not the entry-level thugs. All right.
Training mode thugs.
No, it's fine. Everything's great, Tommy. What are you talking about? That doesn't exist in the game.
Welcome to The Right Advice. I'm Randy.
And I'm Amber.
And I'm Lucy.
And today we're talking about episode 6 of The Last of Us on HBO Max. So let's begin with our initial reactions. Who wants to go first?
Lucy does.
Lucy.
Okay. I really liked it. It was, for the most part, pretty similar to the game. Just small bits that were a little bit different. But obviously when we get to those, I'll explain more. But yeah.
Awesome.
Again, lots of stuff, like lots of dialogue and shots taken directly from the game. So that was also nice to still be able to see those.
Nice.
I liked it. I think the story flowed smoothly. I enjoyed the interaction with Joel and Ellie. And I enjoyed the whole story. It was really fun. Kind of the whole time passed by super quickly for me. And I was like, oh, I don't want it to be over. But it was over at the end.
I have to agree. The pacing was really good in this one. I have very few small minor complaints. And then I have one big complaint that has to do with what has happened between the last episode and this episode. But overall, very, very satisfied. I thought this was pretty good. Three months have passed since the escape from Kansas City and the deaths of Henry and Sam. Joel and Ellie have come across an isolated cabin where they question the husband and wife inside about exactly where they are in Wyoming, if they have seen Joel's brother, and what is the safest way west. The husband and wife confirm where they are, explain that they don't know Joel's brother, and that there are no people to the west, and that to cross the river is to go to certain death. As they leave the cabin, Joel pauses, clutching his chest. Ellie is worried about him, but Joel assures her that he's fine. So, first of all, I really liked the husband and wife dynamic of the couple in the cabin. I thought it was so hilarious because it was obviously written by somebody who understands this culture and the dynamic that would happen between a couple that's been isolated for 20 years now. So I appreciated it a lot. Very funny. I also liked that Ellie was part of the strategy of the ambush that they had. She's up on the balcony, unbeknownst to the husband who is coming in, which means that this was a plan, and so she's slightly engaged in this. I don't know if she was supposed to hide and then she decided to come out with her gun, but I don't think it really matters. So I kind of looked at this moment with Joel where he comes out of the cabin and he's clutching at his heart. He seems to be struggling to breathe. And I thought, is he having a heart attack or is this a panic attack? And it seemed to me that it was more of a panic attack because as soon as Ellie says, I'm screwed if you die, he immediately gets over it. And I think that it was induced by his sudden thought that, oh my gosh, my brother might be dead. And I'm seeing this pattern here relating to his little panic attacks that he's having and how it may relate to what he thinks his position is in the world. Like, not position so much as his status in the world. Is he alone or does he have people? And I felt like he thought he was losing his brother here. So, or that he may have lost his brother, like the one person he's really clinging to. And Ellie is kind of like, he's clinging to her, but he doesn't really admit it. But we're kind of seeing that he is starting to go there. So anyway, but I liked it. I thought it was great. Really enjoyed it. So how about you guys?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I also really liked the little dynamic between the husband and wife. And I liked immediately the first interaction between Joel and Ellie is already like kind of like playful, like, well, not playful, but you can see that you can see just in this one dynamic between them in the house still how their relationship and dynamic has like grown.
Yeah.
So they're like more comfortable with each other and they're just a lot more, I don't know, friendly. But yeah,
they've definitely bonded a little.
Yeah.
Right. So the cabin scene, I enjoyed. I thought it was very fun. I believe the actor The husband is Graham Greene. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's who that is. And he's one of my favorites. I really enjoy anything that he's in. He does such a great job. And the gal who plays his wife, it was so fun to just watch them interact with one another. And the mark of a really good story is that not only are the main characters developed and stand out as individuals, but so are the secondary characters. Yep. So even if we never see these two characters again, they spent time to make them feel real and unique, and that just adds to the storytelling element. It makes the whole story feel more real. Too many shows, you get these people and they're, cookie cutter, stamped out, representations, and sometimes that's all right. I mean, there's definitely, like, I don't know, you're going to pull to the gas station, there's a gas attendant, he's going to say, fill her up, and that's going to be it. And, you don't really need to do that, but you have a whole entire scene, and they're speaking, they should have personalities, and they should come across as interesting characters in their own right, and this scene totally did that. I really enjoyed it, even though all this really does is give us information. This is what you would normally consider a data dump, but because they do it in the way they do, it comes across as interesting. Joel needs information. He's a little bit lost. He's not sure where to go. And so we get a lot of information about the area by using that technique. So really well done and fun.
And it added actually to the storytelling as well, because it was a creation of tension. So first of all, there's death beyond the death river, right? So we know where they're going is certain death. There's nobody out beyond there. So there's dread that, they're going into something that's a waste of their time anyway. And also the tension that's very personal to Joel, which is that his brother's probably dead. I think the gal said, if your brother's over there, he's gone. So it had a function to the story as well as, being interesting side characters. So that night, Joel and Ellie camp at the mouth of a cave along the river. Ellie reveals that she tried to cure Sam with her blood, insinuating that she has doubts that the scientists in the West can make a vaccine out of her blood. Joel assures her that Marlene is not a fool. If she says that they can do it, they can do it. The next morning, Joel wakes up to find that he has fallen asleep when he was supposed to be on watch, but Ellie adeptly took over for him. Joel seems to consider that maybe Ellie is capable of responsibility, like taking over the watch at night, but still orders her to wake him up if he ever falls asleep. I thought this was good. I didn't have anything really to say about this segment. I just like that Ellie kind of wants to take over and, do her fair share. You're kind of seeing that in some of their conversation. I also liked that she is doing something very, very useful to the camp at this point, because Joel, we've seen him in the past staying up all night, and that's clearly what he thought he was going to do here, probably affecting his anxiety. But I like that she took the initiative to be useful on her own. And to me, that's a very positive character attribute, so I enjoyed that a lot.
I really liked that little show into how much Ellie loves space, because that's also a big part of the second game. You have a pretty big, a sequence where it's her and Joel talking about space and spaceships and stuff like that. And so I like that they're bringing that out more in here, and also bringing out, because in the second game there's a very big switch between Ellie's character. Like, it's still very much Ellie, but she's changed a lot, which happens because there's a very big time skip. But I like that they're in this show giving more clues as to the kind of person Ellie is becoming. Because in the first game, she's pretty much, the way she is here, just a little bit more kid-ish. And then in the second game, she is, I think, 19 at that point. So she's all grown up. And
so 5-year jump. That's a lot.
Yeah. So I like that they're bringing out more of her character earlier on, as opposed to
waiting
two different Ellies in two different games.
Did it feel like that in the game? Like you got the second game and you were like, whoa, she's changed a lot?
Well, like I said, she's still Ellie, and you can still tell that it's her throughout the game. You can still see stuff from the first game. You're like, oh yeah, that's still her. But she's very much more grown up. And in the second game, she's basically the Joel of the second game. She's the character that everybody should be afraid of.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
that's a big jump then.
yeah.
Did you like it? Was there any backlash to her being like suddenly this mature person?
The second game is very controversial, and I will delve more into that in this Q&A.
All right.
Okay, so that's interesting. So what you just talked about dovetails into my comments on this. So what I really enjoyed is that Joel's like, I'm going to stay up and you sleep. Okay, so, and you've heard me talk about mirroring before. We use a similar event, and we're showing sometimes, usually we're showing change. Sometimes we're reinforcing something that hasn't changed and maybe it should have. So in this case, we see Joel. He is the protector. I'm going to stay up, you sleep, because that's how it works, right? But now, combined with the earlier scene where he's having some heart problems or whatever problems that he's having, right? He's showing weakness and he falls asleep, all right? So we're seeing that Joel, he's lost his edge. That whatever edge he had at one point, he's lost some of it, right? And we are seeing vulnerability starting to, and that's the purpose of this mirroring, right? So earlier on, we get Joel like, yeah, I can drive for 2 days straight and I'm fine, right? And here he's going to try again to stay up and he can't, right? And then so part of that change of that mirroring is that Ellie notices him sleeping and she gets up and she takes guard duty. And he's like, no, you got to wake me up. She's like, don't worry about it. I did all those things that you taught me to do. And she lists like 4 or 5 things. I did this, I checked I backtracked and to make sure no one was following me, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this, right? And it's like, Joel's like, okay, right? And he's realizing that she has learned from him because he's been, teaching her, but she has been learning, and she's getting more prepared, and she's more competent. And she's not quite as competent as he is, but she is definitely at a competent point now. So I see that as interesting, right? And if she is going to be moving and being the Joel character in the future, which is what I was kind of guessing, right? That's what I would be doing writing-wise if I was going to make her the Joel character in the second series, the second season, in the second game. This is exactly how you do it. You show how Joel has been so awesome, but he's losing that edge, and she is going to step up as he does that. So for me, that was just beautiful. I mean, just great storytelling, great writing in that.
Joel and Ellie cross the bridge over the nicknamed River of Death and continue west with no problems. When they reach another big river, Ellie wonders if this was the River of Death and not the last river. Suddenly, they are surrounded by armed men on horseback. The armed men bring out a sniffer dog to identify if they are infected. Joel passes, and after a tense moment, Ellie also passes. And then Joel tells the men that he is looking for his brother.
All right, so it was interesting, the sniffer dog, and I kind of thought about that. I would expect that at some point they would use dogs because of their sense of smell. I mean, that just seems so natural that there would be something different about people once they were infected. So good for them. And then what I really liked is then the dog comes up, and it's a really nice, tense moment, because the dog starts to growl. That's not how the dog reacted to Joel. The dog kind of sniffed and then was very happy. But with Ellie, the dog growls a couple times, and you can kind of see the mind working, right? The cogs in the dog's mind working. Is this person infected or not? The dog's not sure at first, right? But eventually decides that she's not infected and gives her the okay. And I thought that was really nice.
Yeah. How about you?
I didn't really have anything not a whole lot to add.
This scene was in the game like this?
This was not in the game, actually.
Okay.
In the game, you go basically, so Tommy and and Jackson are kind of, the way you get to it is you're going to the hydro dam electrical thing, and then you go through that, and then you come up to like the gate. So you come up to the gate all by yourself with Ellie, and then they're like, hold up, drop your guns. And then Joel's like, whoa there, I'm just passing through. And then Tommy's like, hey, that's okay, it's my brother. So it's a little bit different, but
Okay. Did you like this one?
yeah, I mean, it didn't change all that much, story-wise. But yeah, still liked it.
Nice. Yeah, I liked this scene too. Actually, on their way, while they're starting to walk, you hear Ellie asking if she can be taught how to shoot, and Joel's still like, no. So I liked that he's still like, keeping his foot down. Like he's clearly not teaching her everything that she needs to know. I'm sure he's giving her tips. Like earlier, he showed her how to properly hold the pistol, but he's still like, I'm the protector. You are not. You just be the passenger that
You're
I'm
still a kid.
Yeah.
Well, the difference I see though is this: she wants to learn how to shoot the hunting rifle to be able to snipe people in the head. All right, and I can see him saying it's one thing to have a pistol and defend yourself, but that's a new level of trauma when you're doing that and that person's head explodes while you're watching them. Right,
Mm-hmm.
that's another level of growing up that he doesn't want her to do. So
I like that,
I thought
yeah.
it was great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There was also his panic attack when he saw the dog heading towards Ellie, and I felt like this really solidified for me that this is a psychological issue for him, because at this point he wasn't showing super fatigue, while he's walking or anything that would make me think that he's having a physical thing going on here, but this is a physical reaction to a psychological condition. And so I'm liking where I'm seeing it come into play, that he's seeing his role as the protector is failing, or that he is losing somebody. He's afraid he's going to lose Ellie. And maybe he's kind of conflating the two, like I'm losing my role as the protector, or I love Ellie and don't want to lose her. They're two separate things, but they, to him, I think, are so meshed together that he can't decipher between the two. The horsemen and women bring Ellie and Joel back to Jackson, which is now a fortified town full of people living normal lives within the safety of the huge palisade walls surrounding it. Joel is reunited with Tommy, and he and Ellie are brought to a mess hall where they are given a proper meal. Tommy reveals that he and Maria, a woman who was among the horsemen who found them, are married. Joel does not seem entirely pleased.
All right, so I love the reunion between the brothers. You have a high tension. So in horror, you have high tension. You definitely need moments of levity and lighter scenes, and this provides one of them. It is rewarding. We get a reward after all the tension, all the horror and darkness, to see the brothers reunited. I mean, so that is a lovely moment, and they did a good job of it. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. They're together again. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And of course, the scene in the cabin with Graham Greene and the character's wife there, that was also a lighter moment, so we can enjoy that and take a breather from all the heavy material. So really good job. I enjoyed that they got together. I was worried that Tommy was dead already. And actually, moving forward,
He keeps expecting Tommy
I'm expecting
to die.
Tommy to die.
He expected it later on in the episode too. He was like, "Tommy's gonna die."
He's so gonna die. I'll mention that when we cover that information later. So I loved it.
How about you?
Me? All right. So two things are majorly different from the game.
Okay.
In the game, Tommy and Joel are a lot less tense. So in this, they are way more tense than they are in the game.
Okay.
So in the game, it's generally like they haven't seen each other in, you can tell, several years. So they're a little bit awkward with each other in the game, but they're not like tense or like, I don't know. They were both it seemed a little grouchy with each other. So in the game, they weren't. They were, very relaxed. And then also, in the game, we still have Maria in the game, but she's a lot less fleshed out in the game. So we get a lot more of her character here.
Good on the writers, actually giving her. Did she have no personality?
Well, she did, but she just wasn't in very many of the scenes. She was in 2 scenes.
Okay.
So she didn't have very much screen time in general. But in the game, I already liked her because she took on immediately kind of like a motherly role for Ellie. So like she almost immediately was like, "Hey Ellie, let's give Joel and Tommy some time alone." And then, you know, they got along pretty well in the game. So it was interesting to see them clash in the show.
Nice. For me, I had one complaint that actually I think is an oversight on the part of the writers, and that is the horses. So they just happened to bring 2 spare saddled horses with them on patrol. I thought was unlikely because I didn't see anybody doubled up. And if you were going to double people up, it should probably be Ellie doubled up with somebody, because I'm sure she's never ridden a horse before. But suddenly she's an expert horsewoman. You see her galloping along with everybody else, and she's clearly had some Western lessons because she's the only one holding it. Like, she just took a lesson in how to ride Western. I thought that was kind of cute, though. But what was that?
Really quick, I don't know if they mentioned it in here, but in the game, she was taught how to ride by a Fedra agent in the QZ, in Boston QZ.
Oh,
so
cool.
I don't think they mentioned it here, but
Okay.
that would that doesn't explain the 2 extra horses, but that does explain her.
That would explain her being able to ride, and also
Yes.
why she would ride like, you know, she's following the rules. If she was in a military school and it was a Fedra agent who's like, you have to ride like this, she would do that. Okay, that's explained. The other thing I thought was okay, so Joel arrives, and you don't really know what's in his head at this point, but we think he's going there to retrieve Tommy. So he gets there, and he seems to be very wanting to be talking to his brother, and he's excited to see him. And then as soon as he finds out that Tommy is married, it's like a dark cloud settles over him. And so I think that he got there thinking he's going to be reunited with his brother. Because remember, he's alone now. Joel is alone because Tess is dead. And so he is now off to retrieve the last person who's his family in his life, which is his brother. He gets there, she's married. So that means he's probably not going to want to leave. So I liked that it was like, crap, he doesn't want to leave. And I thought it was also kind of an interesting thing that that Tommy's wife is Black. And you know that that Joel's wife in the past, who was dead, must have been Black too, because his daughter was obviously half Black. So I felt like maybe he was looking at this and seeing himself and his wife, who he had lost before.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
It struck me like right at the end of the episode when they held hands, and I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, or not the end of the episode, that was the end of the scene. I was like, his wife was Black too, his daughter. So I don't know if that just kind of added like another, little sharper, let's sharpen the knife a little bit more before we stab him. Like, hey, your brother's not coming with you. And he's basically going to remind you of a great big loss in your life, too, because his daughter would have looked just like his wife. And so I felt like it was just a double whammy there. So maybe he's also a little afraid for his brother, that his brother, by getting married, is setting himself up for loss too. So that was my comments on that bit.
I had a little bit different view on that. So Joel has mentioned in previous episode, probably episode 2, I think, I'm not sure, that he's critical of his brother because his brother tends to join groups and he doesn't think it through. So he was really upset that his brother had joined the Fireflies, and then that didn't work, and he left. So for me, I'm seeing him being disapproving because it's like, oh my gosh, he's joined this communist enclave, right? So they're communists, and I'm not making any political statement. I'm just saying that Joel's character may not be really happy that he's joined in with the communists. They all seem like very lovely people, so I don't have a comment on that one way or the other. I'm just saying that Joel may not be very happy because his brother joins weird groups and it seems to kind of mess him up and put him in compromising situations and everything. So that was my take on it.
That is a good one. And also even just joining in a marriage, that's a joining as well. So yeah, like, you've done it again, Tommy. You've done it again.
Tommy. Yeah.
Oh, also in this scene, we catch a glimpse of a young girl that Ellie yells at.
Yeah, I thought that was random.
I believe that is them showing Dina, who is a main character in the second game.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because it looked a lot like her.
And that was interesting too. I was going to comment, I forgot about it. So Ellie, she immediately goes back to old Ellie. Her attitude and the way she acts is like when Joel first met her in that the Firefly safe house, and she's just really kind of bitter, and she's mean to everyone, and everything she says is just kind of on edge. She reverted back to old Ellie as soon as they're there, and you can tell this is I know that Joel plans to leave, and this is the end of my time with Joel, and I don't want it to be the end of my time with Joel, right?
Oh, okay.
So that was, for me, was very obvious, and made me feel bad for her, right? Because she's lashing out, she's reacting the only way she knows how to. She doesn't want that rejection. Everyone that she loves, and she talked about it at some point later, has either died or left her. And here we go again, someone that she's come to learn to trust, and I would say love too, but definitely trust. And so you see her acting out, and that was also nice touch, right? I mean, show us these things. Don't just tell us and put it in, throw it in our face. Show us. Let us pick up those clues and enjoy all of that.
Yeah, see, I thought you were going to go in a different direction with that. I thought you were going to go because like foster kids, when they meet new strangers, the first thing they need to do is lash out at them in order to let them know you can't attack me. Like, I will attack you first before you attack me. And it's sort of like her walking into the school lunchroom and letting everybody know that she cannot be bullied. And she does that by, snapping at everybody that she possibly can. And so I was seeing that, but I could see this one too. I think that if it was going to go in that direction, I would have just wanted to see a little bit more of her showing, maybe the camera showing her that she's afraid of losing Joel in some way. And I don't know how you could do that. Maybe catching on to cues that Joel seems to be trying to convince Tommy to go as well or something. I don't know. But yeah.
I know. I think it's like the foreshadowing, because they do have that conversation later. So this foreshadows that conversation. And then when we look back, we're like, that's why she was acting up. I mean, to me, that's what I felt. And so a lot of times in good writing, you'll hint to something or you show some behavior before you explain it. And sometimes it is appropriate to explain that behavior. And this is going to be one of those cases. So we don't get it explained at first, but later her and Joel will have that conversation. And that is the appropriate time to do that, because it does bring out the emotional aspects. And it's, like I said, very lovely writing. I'm definitely enjoying this show. It is well written.
This one's doing good. Maria gives a tour of their idyllic community, explaining that they are safe because they do not communicate with the outside world. Jackson is now an idyllic commune of 300 people, with livestock and plenty of food and supplies. Maria suggests that Joel and Ellie can stay in the empty house near their own.
I enjoy the conversation that Joel has with Tommy. And Tommy gives a really great line, my favorite line of this episode, which is, just because life stopped for you doesn't mean it stopped for me. And it's so poignant, and it really sets out the difference in this case. I mean, so Tommy has gone on with life. He's living life, and they're in a community that they have the basics, right? They get to watch a movie. They have a movie night, right? And I don't know. Did they have popcorn? I don't know if they had popcorn. I mean, but you know,
they have movie night.
They had movie night, right? And they're fed, and they have clothing, and they have ammunition, and everything. They have electricity. So life is moving forward, and Joel does seem to kind of want to stay in the past, stay in this apocalypse. He doesn't really plan, like with Bill and Frank, right? Bill and Frank kind of move forward with life. So I think we are now really starting to see another theme come through with this repetition. People have gone on with life. We are seeing that. And Joel is so hesitant. He seems to be almost want to be out there with the infected and with the raiders and everything, man. And, you know, because that's the life he knows now. And I don't know, maybe he's just afraid to try to live life. I don't know. And you know, it is interesting because this is also the episode that Ellie talks about it. What do you want to do? If it was all over, you could do anything. He's like, yeah, I'd get a ranch and raise sheep. I mean, I don't think that's a good goal, but at least he had one.
It's a great goal.
I think it sounds kind of nice. Relaxing.
Sheep are really smelly. I don't.
Yeah, they are. And they destroy the landscape. You don't want no stinky sheep. No stinky sheep, please.
Oh, okay.
How about you?
I am not a fan of how tense they've made Joel and Tommy. I just don't really. I mean, it's still fine. It doesn't change anything all that much to have them bicker and be tense with each other, but in the game, it seemed they were just happy to see each other alive and just happy that they're both made it this far and are still alive in the zombie apocalypse. And then in this, they're, I don't know, I preferred their dynamic in the game.
No, and I have another thing. Also, we now come at a point where I'm sure Joel is thinking, this is a safe community. I could leave Ellie here and she'll be safe. They're pretty well protected. They got quite a few people with guns. Then they have walls. And the infected are not a problem here. Raiders don't know they're there. So this is a safe environment. So Joel has to be thinking, do I save the world and take Ellie where she needs to go? Or do I save Ellie and leave her here? So for me, that was like, oh, that is such a delicious dilemma there for him to be thinking about. And what will he choose?
Nice. I was thinking what you were talking about. So in the game, they got along better, but here they don't seem to as much. And it's clearly coming mainly from Joel's side. Like he's the one who is on the offense and Tommy's kind of like on the defense, I guess. This to me, I think, is a writing tool in order to create tension, in order to make us wonder how it's going to end up. Like if we see the two of them reunite and everything's great, there's a little less anticipation on what's going to happen because you kind of anticipate that, well, they're great and they're going to be together. But now we're going, wait, they were supposed to be together. Now what? They're not getting along. So for me, this scene, I remembered when they first walked into Jackson, it looked like the brother was setting up a gallows. I mean, he seemed to be hanging a noose on a gallows.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. So when Joel starts questioning Tommy and what this community is, and he basically says, you guys are communists, right? And Tommy's like, no. And then Maria is like, or is it Maria? She's like, no, we are communists. Like we're a commune. And I think it's funny that you see Tommy, like it just dawns on him that he has done what his brother has probably accused him of doing many times in the past, which is go and joining groups. And so you see him kind of like, I did join a commune. And I thought was great. I thought that was really good acting on the part of the actor himself. I really enjoyed seeing that particular moment there.
So I want to ask Lucy real quick. So do we find out later that there's problems with that community? Do they have like a dark secret that?
Nope. That's what I thought the gallows was alluding to.
They're also in the second game. Okay. So you see Jackson in the second game as well.
All right, awesome. Well, so yeah, that was the tying in the gallows, being like, okay, this is not paradise. They have executions, and that's never a pretty thing. So I thought that was an interesting thing to do there. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good little scene. Alone, Joel and Tommy talk. Joel lies to Tommy, telling him that Tess is fine and that Ellie is the daughter of someone in Firefly and that he's taking her west for payment. Tommy tells Joel the Fireflies have a base at the University of Eastern Colorado. It's a week's journey, but it is perilous, with infected and raiders everywhere along the way. Joel wants Tommy to go to Colorado with him and Ellie, but Tommy doesn't want to leave, as he and Maria are expecting a baby, so he needs to be more careful. Joel is not pleased with this, and Tommy states that just because life has stopped for Joel doesn't mean it has to stop for him. Joel declares that he and Ellie will be leaving in the morning. Were we all kind of happy with this one?
Yeah, it was good. I don't have any comments one way or the other than I was wrong. The line that I mentioned earlier about life stopping is in this section, not the previous section. Doesn't matter. Still a great line, and still really identifies both brothers and kind of their conflict right now. So yeah. That's all I have.
I had one quick thing, and that was that I sure do hope that Joel cued Ellie in to making sure that you pretend that Tess is still alive, because I don't think it would take a lot for Ellie to like, oh yeah, well, that was sad when Tess died right in front of Tommy. So I was kind of thinking this is not thinking ahead much for Joel in this moment, lying to his brother and saying she's alive and fine. I also wasn't entirely sure why Joel seems to be defensive when he's telling Tommy that he and Tommy had to murder people. He calls it, we had to do those bad things to survive, but then Tommy corrects the words and says, we murdered people. And he also says that he doesn't judge them, that he understands that it was the only way that they knew how to live, but that it wasn't the only way. And I've never really seen Joel get upset about the fact that he kills people. It seems to me like he's been pretty cold about that up until now. So I might have liked to have seen him, when other people have mentioned that he is a killer, that he goes on the defensive about it, because he does here with his brother. But it could also be because this is his brother and they used to do it together that's why it's happening. So just depending on what the writers intended with this moment, I might have liked to have seen something more, or it worked fine. I thought it was great tension, though.
Or it's because they're now in civilization. This town is civilized. And this is the point where you look back on those things that you had to do to survive, and it's no longer pretty and it's uncomfortable. So it could totally be that that's what the case is. And Tommy's okay with it because the people know what, they have an idea of what he's done and he's comfortable with it. And I did really like that Tommy talks about, you murdered people, I murdered people. So Tommy doesn't try to whitewash it and say that he didn't have anything to do with it. They both did. And you know what? They did what they had to do, and it's time to move on, which is good, which is kind of the lesson what we're talking about, the theme for this episode. Sometimes it's you need to move on. Leave the past in the past and start living life. Be willing to live life. So I would say that this is this episode's theme.
Leaving his brother, Joel has another episode, clutching his heart and struggling to breathe. But the pain stops when he thinks he sees his long-dead daughter, Sarah. For a moment, he seems to forget that she is dead, but he snaps out of it as the woman turns around and is not his daughter. For me, this bit, I liked that, once again, it's showing that his episodes are not physical, but they're psychological. He comes out from his talk with his brother thinking, I don't have my brother anymore. My brother is not on board with me. And then he thinks he sees his daughter, and it's him panicking about his brother is what's causing his anxiety. But then when he thinks he sees his daughter, he's kind of snapped out of it. And then he remembers, oh yeah, she's dead. And the whole thing is past. But you see that it goes away when for a brief moment he forgets that his daughter was dead. Like he has a reason to keep on living. So I liked the physical being a reaction to his psychological state there, that he thought everything was lost, and then the pain goes away as soon as he thinks he has a kid again. And even though it's not real, I just really liked that. I thought that was great. Having showered and received new clothes left by Maria, Ellie lets herself into Maria's and Tommy's house. Above the fireplace is a memorial to Sarah, who we know is Joel's daughter, and someone named Kevin, who also seemed to have died in the days following the initial outbreak. Maria returns with a new coat for Ellie, and as she gives Ellie a hair trim, reveals that Kevin was her son, and Sarah was Joel's daughter. Ellie is stunned, but says that it explains Joel a little more. Maria tries to warn Ellie about Joel being a killer, but Ellie says she already knows, and Maria warns Ellie that the only people who can betray us are the ones that we trust. Anybody got anything on this bit?
Well, that Ellie knows now that Joel had a daughter, and it sinks in on her.
Yeah.
I really liked that you can tell how much Tommy cared about Sarah, even though he wasn't the dad. He was, still an uncle, so still a very close relationship, because at the time, Tommy and Joel were working together, so he very clearly did still spend a lot of time with Sarah. But I really liked how he made sure to put up that memorial with Kevin's, and not just try and... I liked that he did that. It was very touching.
Well, and it's also a bonding thing for him and his wife. Mm-hmm. They've both lost someone dear to them, a child that's dear to them. So it is a bonding thing. And then, it is a great pivotal moment as far as information. So Ellie now knows that Joel has lost a daughter, and she does a great job of acting, because we see that light click. It turns on. She gets it now. She understands Joel. I think that's what she says, right? Yeah, a lot of things are much clearer now that I know that, right? So she gets all the gruffness and everything when he talks about it. So it was a great scene and an important pivotal scene, like I said.
There was I liked Ellie being obnoxious in this part. I was a lot more tolerant of her being obnoxious because in a way she's defending Joel now, and we have seen her earn this position of being able to be obnoxious, and she's using her evil powers for good. She's defending Joel when Maria is trying to tell her that he's a bad man. And so this to me was an example of when you have earned a certain position in the story, the same behavior that can be viewed as like, this is very unlikable in the past, now it's very likable. We like that she's using her evil power for good. She is defending Joel, who we like, you know? So that to me is, I think writers can learn from this, that if you're gonna have a character like this, if you're wondering why aren't people liking my character, well, maybe they need to contribute more in some way, in a positive way to the story, or use their evil for good. Just saying.
So this is something we definitely see in life. So there's that situation. So I've had people, so like, my best buddy, he can say things and I don't care. It doesn't bother me, right? But if someone I've just met were to say some of these things, ooh, yeah, you know what? That's bad. You're on my bad side. And probably it's going to take a lot for you to ever convince me to like you, because you started off doing some of these things that are totally appropriate for my buddy and not appropriate for you.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's a real life thing, and I like seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always fun when the bad guy's on your side. I've got a sister who has a tongue like a whip. Oh my gosh. And we're all just like, oh, we're so grateful that she's on our side. So.
I don't like Maria's character as much. I mean, she's still fine, but in this scene in particular.
Is it because she was a lawyer?
No.
Okay.
Well, we all know lawyers are evil, but but I didn't like the way it seemed she was trying to turn Ellie against Joel.
Yeah.
Like, I get trying to, like, maybe say, like, do you know that Joel has done bad things in the past? Like, obviously she's a 14-year-old girl. You want to warn her, let her know.
Yeah.
He's done bad things, but it felt like she was trying to actively turn her against Joel, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to ask myself, so this is an apocalyptic world. It's been 20 years. How many of these people have not had to kill an infected? And you can argue that's still a person. In a way, you could argue that's a person, right? So how against the actions that Joel and Tommy have taken would they really be? These are going to be people who have been hardened against death. And would they really still be that way? Because to me, it seems like pre-apocalypse sensibilities. And now maybe that's because they're in a civilized town now, and they've kind of returned back to those sorts of sensibilities. I don't know. But if I have a fault with this episode, that's it. That they just keep harping on that when I think most people would not be harping on that anymore.
Yeah. And I think that also this shows, so she attacking what his past deeds were may have been a tactic that she used, or that maybe it was unintentional. This is just her personality, but it may have been this trait in her to call out that what you've been doing is bad, is possibly what seduced Tommy to coming in, that he suddenly felt guilty about being with the Fireflies. He didn't want to be part of the killing of the regular people, not the infected, because I think the Fireflies are fighting against Fedra. So it may have been part of his pull into this community.
Right. So I'm reminded of, what is her name? The villain from the last... Kathleen. Okay. Yeah. So this gal, I totally see why she can be a leader, right? And then if Kathleen was more like this, Kathleen would have been more believable as a leader of cutthroats. And this gal, whatever this town does, whether it's good or evil, I can believe that she leads them and they follow her because of her actions here. Very believable. Whereas Kathleen, I did not believe that very much at all. So interesting.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think also it's the situation, like Kathleen being the leader in the situation that she was in, leading a rebellion, a bloody rebellion, versus leading people into a peaceful existence, but having to do it with very strong defense. Yeah, this is definitely much better representation of this type of leader, female leader especially.
Yeah.
As Ellie watches a movie, Joel is in a shop, trying and failing to fix his boot. Tommy brings him a new pair of boots and apologizes for what he said to him earlier. Joel does not offer forgiveness, but reveals the truth about Ellie and Tess, as well as everything that happened in Kansas City. Nearly in tears, Joel confesses that he is afraid he is not as strong as he used to be, that he has been having episodes where he can't breathe. He says he just knows he is going to get Ellie killed, and begs Tommy to take Ellie to Colorado. Tommy agrees.
Oh, did I already say I had a favorite scene? Because I think maybe this is my favorite scene.
Very good scene.
So, yeah, Joel tells Tommy about Ellie, right? And there's so many factors coming into play. I mean, he didn't tell Tommy earlier, but we can see that Joel thinks that he's not able to take Ellie, that he's not strong enough. And he tells Tommy that I'm not. I'm half deaf. I'm falling asleep at night instead of being able to stay up all night and stay guard. And so all these things, Ellie had to save me from some punk teenager, in the last city. So he realizes that he's things have changed for himself, and he tells about Ellie's specialness, that she might be the cure for the world, because he knows that Tommy, from a previous episode, right? Tommy's about saving the world. Joel's about saving that one person that he cares about. Tommy wants to save the world. All right, so there's a lot of things going here. So the first I'm going to say is that we have seen Joel changes. This is the moment when Joel sees the light, he changes. And in storytelling, that's a really important moment, because in order to reach the eventual victory or wherever we're going to go with that, the hero, has to first realize the problem. And this is Joel realizing that he is not as strong as he used to be, and that this will now lead to other change, because he's going to have to find other solutions now. He just can't be that one-man army that he used to be and not care about people and not move forward with life. He can't do that anymore. So this is this moment where he makes that pivotal change. So that's really key to the whole story. Then the other thing is Tommy. So the whole time I'm just watching Tommy, and I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, because he's got to save the world. That's his thing, right? And Joel's telling him and asks him to do it, and you know that in his mind, he's like, I have a wife and a baby on the way, but I have to save the world. I have to save the world. So you know he's going to say yes, because that's Tommy. That's what Tommy does. And so for me, that was just so delightful to see that he's struggling with it. And that's what good storytelling is about, is we have choices. We struggle with those choices, and we make decisions, and hopefully we're making the good decisions. And so we know that Tommy's going to accept this, and that Joel has grown and matured enough to realize he can't protect Ellie. I mean, so for me, excellent right there. Probably, so pivotal and so great to see all of that going on all at once.
How about you?
It was a little bit different in the game, just because in the game he's a little less emotional, because in the game he's more gruff. I like that they've made Joel not softer, but gentler. That's a better word. I like that they made Joel more gentle in the show, because in the game he is still insanely gruff and, no emotions ever. He can't have emotions. That's not a thing. But I like that they have made him more gentle in this and have him more openly care about people.
So this scene was in the game or something like it?
Yeah, this scene, I was mistaken earlier. It wasn't in the pub when he was telling. I had the scenes mixed up. But yeah, in this, he immediately tells Tommy in the game. It's not like he doesn't have that whole scene where he was like, no, it's fine. Everything's great, Tommy. What are you talking about? That doesn't exist in the game.
And so another change. So he goes from the old Joel would just lie about things. He kept things, right? He played close to the vest. And in this, he finally trusts his brother. And in the next scene, Ellie with the truth. So here we go. More change. Oh, nice.
Yeah, for this scene, I thought that his opening up to Tommy may have been a symptom of something else, and that being that Joel really feels alone in the world. Like there is nobody you can trust. There's nothing. The only people that you should live for are your family. Like remember earlier in I think it was the third or I don't know, I think it was the third or fourth episode where they're in the truck and yeah, he says you live for family. Like that's what that's what hope is. You live for your family. And this is the person that, remember, his whole journey is about going to get his brother. So this is the person he really feels is his only other person, because he's still in denial about Ellie, sort of. But although he doesn't say that, he actually uses words that say that the opposite of that in this scene. So I saw this moment of vulnerability as being, this is the only place he is safe to be vulnerable, because it's his brother, and this is, he can be himself in front of his brother. This is his one safe place. I had a problem, though, with this moment for him breaking down and what he says about, I can't protect Ellie anymore. And that was that I would have liked to have seen him being afraid of his inability to protect her more. And I think this could have been done in a couple of ways. So the first way is you'd look at the past scenes, so the Kansas City scenes, and that would have been the last 2 episodes. He gets attacked by the guy with the shotgun and almost dies there, but Ellie saves him. Then after that, he is trying to save Ellie. I think this is the next scene that he describes. He's going to try and save Ellie because she's being attacked, but he can't go and attack her and save her, and somebody else has to. And then I think he brought up another thing. Oh, I think it was the dog, where they're surrounded by the horsemen and he's just standing there and the dog is going like he can't do anything about that. And I thought that this showed reverse order of what you would see as a collapsing ability to protect. You had the most dangerous thing. His biggest failure was not seeing the guy who came and almost killed him. And then she had to kill him. But then the next scene being that, the kid comes out to shoot him. He didn't know, or the kid comes out to attack Ellie. That would have been Sam. This wasn't like a scenario that he could have controlled. He didn't. It's not like he knew that the kid was infected or that this was something to be in danger about. It was not a situation that he could control, and the other guy had to shoot him. And then the last one is being surrounded. That was really out of his control. I mean, what are you going to do if you've got 15 horsemen that suddenly surround you, all of them with their guns pointed at you? You play by their rules. And as the dog's approaching Ellie, what could he do? Run over there and say no? That would have made it so much worse. So these last 2 especially were things he could not control. So it wasn't necessarily his fault. And I could see you still kind of blame yourself. But the problem is, for a viewer, you're seeing a reverse order of what you would want to see. You would want to see an escalation of his inability to protect, as opposed to the worst possible thing that could happen is Ellie or Joel dies and Ellie is now going to be on her own in a city full of raiders. And then she has to kill somebody to save him. Like, that's the worst scenario for him, is that he's the victim and she has to be the hero. So you could have reversed those. Another thing that you could have done is actually have an episode in this one, or in between the last one and this one, where we're seeing them facing some dangers and we're getting a buildup of him failing more and more and more. Because I got to think this. I would like to have seen that panic attack that he's having happen in earlier episodes. Something like that. Because we didn't get much of him seeming to look at himself and his failure and then looking at her. With the exception of maybe just the very last second of the last episode where he sees the note that says, I'm sorry. But other than that, you don't see it. It's not identifiable that he is feeling guilty about not being able to protect her, like that he has this overwhelming, growing fear that he is, impotent, for in lack of a better word. He doesn't have the power to be the protector anymore. And so it felt abrupt to me that he was suddenly worrying that he can't protect her. I was going, that's what you're worried about? And it made sense, but it felt like we didn't build up to that. It felt like he made a leap as opposed to us seeing that this building fear is happening. So his revelation at that point about what really his fear was, for me, was a bit too much of a leap. It felt like there was something missing to make that a really, really potent moment. So that's how I would have fixed that particular scene. But that's all I had with this one, really. It just could have showed us some different moments.
We did see in the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago, the end of 2 episodes ago, that Henry and Sam were able to sneak up on him because of his hearing. So I do think that we do see the beginning of his not being as sharp in that episode. So we do get a little bit of a transition because of that.
It is a little, but again, like the most dangerous things happened earlier, you know? Like he almost died and Ellie had to kill somebody. And then he slept through his little booby trap to make people alert him to approaching, which you wouldn't want people sneaking up on you. And it just felt like it was getting less and less in his control, or the dangerous situations were less and less dangerous. It just didn't feel like it was building up to it's getting worse and worse. And that's just because we had this giant time leap, and maybe one more episode in there or rearranging some of the events could have helped that along a little bit. Joel finds Ellie in her room, and she reveals that she overheard his conversation with his brother, that he wants to leave her with Tommy for her own good. Ellie is very upset. She tells Joel that she is not her, revealing that she knows about Sarah, and that she is sorry that Joel lost his daughter. She tries to tell him that she knows what loss is, but Joel interrupts her and says that she does not know what loss is. Ellie retorts that everyone she has ever loved has either died or left her, except him, and she would only be more scared if he left her too. But Joel coldly tells her that she is not his daughter, and he is not her dad, and that come dawn they are going their separate ways. Alone in his room, Joel thinks about Sarah, and a single tear just barely leaves his eye before he shuts off the light.
Oh, lovely drama. This is a great scene with Joel and Ellie, and we do get to see Ellie's vulnerable side now. So Ellie admits, after Joel's, said we're going to go our separate ways. Okay, maybe not after. Okay, she tells Joel, everyone in my life has either died or left me. All right, so we see her vulnerability. We see the pain that drives her snarky attitude a lot of the time. And we see Joel being kind of unnecessarily harsh with her. And I totally pick up on I have to be strong and mean now so that she does what's best for her. All right. And that it's got to be.
Makes it easier to leave her
right
in Tommy's hands.
And it's got to be chewing Joel up inside to have to do that. But it's obvious to us, the viewers, that that's what he's doing because he really cares about her. So a tremendous scene. Really emotionally powerful, and in an even a greater bonding moment in a way, because they do both come to understand each other better in this moment.
For me, this scene I thought was really, really great. I absolutely loved it. But something about it really bugged me, and it's something that has been bugging me for the whole series. But because they've been consistent with what they're doing, I'm just going to be like, well, I guess they're consistent with how they're writing. So my problem is that Ellie seems far too psychologically mature for a 14-year-old. So 2 years ago, she was 12. And you can say all that you want about this is a rough world and, bad things happen. But I've worked with plenty of 14-year-olds and who have come from traumatic scenarios. I mean, kids who've been through the worst things you can possibly imagine. And they do not, at age 14, have so much control over their own emotion in a situation like this, that when the threat of losing the one thing that you still have is going to be taken away, that you can have the presence of mind and the control to be compassionate and understanding towards that other person. And that's what she did here. And it just felt unreal for a 14-year-old. But it was kind of consistent with what they've been doing with her this whole time. I mean, they've had her be stupid and naive, but they've kind of had her be like, oh, I'm wise to the world. So it was consistent with the character, but it just wasn't a realistic portrayal of what a 14-year-old would be at this point. And I liked, so when you were talking about how in the mess hall, you were thinking like, oh, this is good. This could be her being afraid that Joel is going to leave and she's lashing out. And I was thinking, I didn't pick up that was what she was afraid of. I didn't think she even thought that was going to happen until after she overheard the conversation. Like, I thought she overheard the conversation, and that was when she realized, oh, Tommy's not coming with us. Tommy is taking me and Joel is not. And that would have been the moment I would have liked to have seen her doing the lashing out thing. I would have liked to have seen her very angry, and because that's a natural reaction with most, I would say like 99% of kids who, especially in foster care, get attached to a parent and they suddenly become afraid that they're going to leave. They like, I hate you, I don't want you anymore, go away, just leave me. And you didn't really see that here. You didn't see that emotion in here. You saw her trying to be compassionate, and there was like a seething anger underneath it, but she was still thinking about how is this what's the best strategic way to present this to Joel. Like, I'm not your other daughter. And I was like, I don't know if I challenge you to find the 14-year-old who is that psychologically and emotionally mature. I don't think that they exist. I will be surprised if you find even one. So anyway, I would have had the writers either make her older, or I would have changed how she acts through the whole script. Probably just make her older.
So this scene is, save for 2 or 3 lines exactly from the game, which is nice because this was one of like the bigger moments between Joel and Ellie and their relationship progressing. But in small difference in the game, Ellie figures out that Joel is going to leave her, and she runs away out of Jackson, and she steals a horse. And then Joel and Tommy have to chase after her, and then they have this entire scene. But yeah, so it was just a little bit different. I like the game portrayal better, just a little bit. But maybe that's just my preference for, I love Bella Ramsey. I love her so much, but I like how Ashley Johnson, the actress for Ellie, did this scene in the game. I liked her way of doing this better. Bella Ramsey still did it very well in this scene, but Ashley had more of a punch, and actually everyone I have cared for has either died or left me, everyone freaking except for you. That was actually, what's the word? Not in the script. What's the word when someone... Improv. That was actually improv by Ashley. Oh. So I liked her little extra punch. She says it with more venom in the game and more like anger about Joel leaving her behind.
Less control.
Yeah.
I'm so pissed off that you're even thinking of doing this. I like that. I think I would have liked that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention that we talked about earlier about I thought that Tommy was going to die. So when Tommy agrees to take Ellie, I'm like, oh, I can so tell what's going to happen. He is going to go and he is going to die. Because that's
Totally.
what I would do if I was writing this.
Yeah,
Someone
you
who has
would.
something to...
You would kill somebody off.
And everybody's been dying up until now,
Right.
so why not?
I'm so horrible. He has something to live for. He has a kid. He takes her and he dies.
You don't like
That would
treating your characters good.
Yeah, you don't want to be a character in my stories for the most part. So just to let you know. So if I ever offer a prize where I'll make you a character in my story, expect to die. So
just say, I'd rather live.
I'd rather
thanks.
live. Thanks.
You can leave me out of the story, actually.
Death and mayhem everywhere. The next morning, Tommy fetches Ellie and they find Joel saddling a horse. He says Ellie deserves a choice and that he thinks she's better off with Tommy, but Ellie immediately chooses Joel. Tommy nods his approval, gives his brother his rifle and a parting embrace, and sends them off.
I love that scene. This is another one of those reward scenes. Joel shows up when we're like, yay, Joel came back, and he's going to give her the choice of who will escort her to the Fireflies. And I just love it. And so other than just to say this is one of those moments that you gift the reader or the viewer with something that they're going to enjoy. I mean, this was great, and I did enjoy it, and I'm glad they did that. And it did bother me that Tommy was not going to die because he took her. So
Wait,
but-
wait.
Ruthless.
Were you rooting for death as I was in the past?
that's just the way I would have written it. That's all. So still, this is good. I like it. I like this one better than what I would have written. So
How about you?
Just one little thing. I liked that Ellie didn't even let Joel finish his sentence. He was like, I'm gonna give you the choice. She's like, I'm going with you.
That was nice. I feel like everybody knew. Of course she's going to pick Joel. And it,
Yeah, obviously.
not even a question in her mind. She knew that she had an option and she's like, I already have the answer. What do you want? Loved that. I thought that this kind of also played into my... I thought it was a fantastic scene. Great, no complaints, with the exception of it was still a way of treating a character who is a child. You're giving her an option, for her own good. So she's 14 years old, and 14-year-olds do not know what's best for them. They just don't. Don't care who says, well, it's been a rough world and she's had to be on her own. She's been pretty sheltered, living in a little QZ for a while, and she doesn't know what's best for her. And the grown-ups should be making these decisions. So I don't like that it was a choice that was given to her. And if I was going to fix this, I would make Ellie older. I would have made her like 16 or 17. Just that tiny little difference makes her closer to adulthood, and the point where she's going to have to be faced with these sorts of decisions. But yeah, I mean, the grown-ups should be the one deciding what's best for her. So, but either way, I still loved it. I thought it was great. Good scene. On their journey to Colorado now, Joel finally shows Ellie how to shoot with the rifle, and Ellie continues asking Joel more questions about the past world, but now Joel answers more openly. Within 5 days, they reach the University of Colorado, but there are no signs of the Fireflies. In the biomedical research lab, they find signs that the Fireflies have moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. Suddenly, Joel and Ellie hear voices outside. 4 raiders approach the building. Joel and Ellie sneak out the back, but are attacked by one of the raiders. In a struggle, Joel manages to break the raider's neck, but he has been stabbed in the abdomen by a wooden spike. He quickly mounts the horse, and they just barely escape as the other raiders arrive. After they have cleared the university, and it is apparent that they are no longer being chased by the raiders, Joel collapses, falling off the horse unconscious. Ellie pleads with him not to leave her, as she doesn't know what to do or where to go without him. The big finale. What do you guys think?
go ahead.
All right, so in the game, you get a little bit more gameplay. Obviously, it's a game. But you get against a bloater in the university. And then also you get, in my opinion, the scariest zombie sequence in the game, which is you're in the basement, essentially, and you're just doing a lot of back and forth, and they have another evolution of infected, which are called, I believe, hunters, if that's correct, or they are the in-between stage of clickers and runners. So they are silent, and they don't really make noise, and they're very fast.
Was it like that guy that got Tess?
No. I think that's like, I don't know.
He's too much of a runner still?
Yeah, he's too,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but you, in this scene in particular, you get lots of shots and dialogue directly from the game.
Ooh.
So like the stuff about the monkeys is Ellie's line of, maybe in all their science they all just turned into freaking monkeys. That's straight from the game.
Nice. That was funny.
Yeah. And the bit about Joel singing was also from the game, and you get to see a bit more of that in the second game. So that's nice.
All right. So while they're in the university, they do come across a map, and that map seems to indicate that perhaps the researchers have gone to Salt Lake. So that's a nice plant. It gives us a direction where the story is going. It looks like if they're going to get Ellie to the researchers, they need to go to Salt Lake. What I did find interesting about that map is they had pins that were like a line. They were converging. So there's some element about that map that's not fully explained to us. So that's interesting. It's a mystery, and of course, like we said, it's a clue that leads us to the next step. So that's excellent. And then I love the ending. So, I mean, do you have anything other before the ending?
Oh, no, I have stuff about the ending. But
all right.
Yeah, you can go.
I had notes, but I can do them after you.
Okay, I love the ending. So we have a cliffhanger. So Joel is injured and he falls off the horse, and we kind of end right there. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I mean, they're in a bad situation, and Ellie, now it's up to Ellie. So I am super excited to find out what happens next time.
Yeah, for me, this whole last segment here, I loved that you really saw the change in Joel and Ellie's relationship. So they leave Jackson, and immediately the first thing you see him doing is bonding with her over shooting. And, she's like, this is stupid, you can't, it doesn't work. And he immediately gets like a perfect bullseye with one shot.
And then he smirks at her.
Yeah. I love that because you saw that he has accepted, I think, that he needs to be there for her and that she needs him to be there for her. And so I feel like now what we saw with him and his brother, we're now seeing a little more with him and Ellie. This for me was his big pivotal moment, was her saying, I pick you. And now he's committed. He's committed to, the person who gives me hope, the person I live for is family, and that is Ellie. Even though he didn't say it out loud, really felt that here. Other than just those notes, I really didn't have a whole lot. I liked that Ellie, again, taking the initiative to shoot back at the Raiders as they're making their escape, to kind of like, don't fire on us, don't follow us. I liked that. And it showed her, again, being the one stepping up and doing what they need to have happen, because Joel wasn't able to do it at that point. So
just slight differences in the way Joel got injured, and gameplay. So in the game, he's battling, or he's like, fighting. What am I thinking of? It doesn't matter. Fighting with
he's doing something.
Raider, and wrestling. That's the word I was thinking of.
Wrestling.
He's
Because they're
wrestling.
Montana. It's wrestling.
With the Raider, and they fall off a balcony, and he gets impaled on a piece of rebar.
Ooh.
Which then Ellie has to help pull him off of.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you're squeamish, don't watch that part. And then you get this little bit of gameplay where you're playing as Joel, and he's all woozy because he just got impaled on a rusty piece of rebar. Rhubarb is a vegetable.
Not rhubarb. He
Rhubarb
wasn't
is a
impaled
vegetable.
by a
He then
vegetable.
proceeded to gnaw his way free.
No,
Add a little sugar.
So you play as him, and he's all woozy, and you can feel this in the controls, where
Ooh.
it's like, because he's like
Lovely.
stumbling, and the screen is going in and out of
Ooh.
blackness, and it's very cool. And Ellie is taking the protector role, where she is leading the way, and she's like opening doors for him,
Okay.
and like shooting and taking out the raiders who help Joel get to the horse faster. But yeah, so just a little bit of gameplay difference, but yeah. I liked that bit of gameplay. Hi.
Puppy is impatient.
You were doing so
this
well.
has gone on long enough.
You were
and she
doing
wants
so
out.
well.
I think I would have liked to have seen more zombies, but because we saw such great growth with the characters, Joel and Ellie, I mean, we had a full, complete arc with them in this episode. They started in one place, they went down low, and they came out even higher up on the top, on the back end, and then you're left with a slight dip as things are getting worse because he's hurt. So I do think I would like to see more zombies, but I'm glad that we got some more raiders. I'm still waiting for those, the cannibal raiders that you've mentioned, so.
Ooh, we get them next episode.
Really?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Okey-dokey.
Spoiler,
All right.
by the way.
If he was impaled on a rebar, I just had a funny image of them coming along and like, hey, it's a guy on a stick. We'll just put him up over the fire and start rotating it.
Wow.
That's awful.
Really? That is awful.
Oh my gosh. Well,
First you're cheering about death, now
my mind goes
cheering
to
about
weird places.
cannibalism.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like what you're talking about, the dread moment there, I feel like we really do need some more of that now. Like we had a great intense episode at the end of Kansas City. This one, we did have the Raiders right at the very end, but again, we're still like, we're looking for this action with this impending doom, which is, supposedly there's a bunch of fungus creatures out there. Really want to see that. Really want to see that.
I really liked this. Like I said, in my opinion, it's the scariest part of zombie gameplay in the game. But yeah,
I did like that the Raiders had like baseball bats and improvised weapons instead of pistols
Yeah.
and rifles. So that was interesting.
Wonder why they couldn't get a hold of some guns.
Because
they're in the West.
they're not very good raiders. That's why they're like
No, if they aren't, they
Yeah.
they sure don't do well against a guy and his little girl. So
they're like the entry level challenge rating, right? So when you start a game, you have the guys with the clubs, and then later in the game, you have the guys with the guns. So apparently these guys don't realize that we're farther along in the series, and we need not the entry level thugs. All right,
training mode thugs.
So yeah, they got lost and showed up this episode instead of a previous one.
Good start for Ellie.
Also,
there we go. Ellie's just starting.
She's
She
training.
has to start with the
Yeah.
level 0 thug. So there we go. That's why they were
This-
here.
This is the Bunny Hill version of survival. You got thugs with clubs and makeshift wooden stakes. What are they looking for? Vampires? It's not vampires, guys. This is zombies.
That's right.
Okay, so ratings, folks. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I enjoyed it, and I'm not marking it off for that one problem that I had with it, which was I don't remember what it was. For me, I mean, and I loved it. I loved a lot of it. The whole time I enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't as exciting as maybe the last episode. The last episode I really loved, and this one I loved quite a bit, but not just a little bit less. So 8.5.
How about you?
still up at 9. Still really loving it.
You're
doing...
like in dreamland with this.
Listen,
like, it's
it's
good.
my favorite game when they're doing it justice. So they're doing very well with the adaptation, and I'm very, very happy with it.
Nice. I'm right on there with you, Randy. I'm giving it an 8.5. I feel exactly the same, that there was a little less excitement in this episode. And the problems that I had with it weren't really problems fully contained within this episode, so much as I wish there were things that they had done beforehand that would have made the stuff that happened in this episode make more sense. And yeah, other than that, I thought it was great. Loved it.
Although Graham Greene was in it, so maybe I should bump it up to a 9. I mean, because I really love that actor. I'm glad he was in the episode.
Was the gal that gal from Northern Exposure? Was that her?
I don't know. I've never seen Northern Exposure.
That was like early 90s, I think. I remember sneaking out to watch that. I just remember they were going to drop a piano or lift a piano up into a apartment and it fell. I don't know. It has a moose walking through town in the beginning. I like that. Anyway.
All right. I guess that's it, right?
I think so. Oh, predictions. Do we want to do that?
No, my prediction got ruined. I was going to predict that Tommy was going to die. And
What's the new
yeah.
prediction?
I'm predicting someone's going to have to show up and help Ellie take care of Joel, because I think at this point she's too small to be able to lift him and carry him wherever or drag him wherever.
She's got a horse. She could have the horse drag him.
That's true.
Okay, I'm staying with my comment, all right?
That's what I would do. Sorry, Joel, you're getting dragged by a horse. How about you?
Me?
She already knows what's
I
gonna
know
happen.
what's going to happen.
Something that you're really looking forward to that you think will be in the next episode.
Okay, so you know how I've been talking about this is a really new, like a really important moment for Ellie and Joel. In the next episode, or what I think will be the next episode, is the biggest, in my opinion, moment between Ellie and Joel.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited about that. Also, the actor who plays Joel in the game is in the next episode.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh,
He's in
nice.
the Cannibalist Raiders group.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm excited now about cannibals. I like that.
I'm not excited about cannibals.
You
so-
get excited about weird things.
I do get excited about weird things. I think for me, I'm going to predict that I have some things that I've been thinking about for the 4 predictions, the endings. 3 of them were mine, and I think one of them was the Adam and Eve one from you. And I've got some thoughts, but I'm going to save them because I'm not sure yet. But I think that Ellie is going to try to infiltrate now that I know there's going to be cannibals, infiltrate a cannibal settlement to get medicine to help Joel, because he's got wood in him. He's going to need antibiotics. Unless they're going to go the route, like it was sterile. It was a sterile wood stake that they stabbed him with. Not a chance that any piece of clothing got into his, dirty clothing got into the wound. That's what I'm predicting.
So sanitary.
Gonna need something. That was a big way people died back in the day when they didn't have penicillin or antibiotics for cuts. Could you imagine dying from a paper cut? How sucky that would be. Anyway.
You'd feel stupid. I mean, you'd
So-
go to the
I've got
afterlife
so many
and like,
cuts on my hands.
and you're talking with all the other dead people, and you're like, "What'd you die from? Oh, the plague." Right? And what'd you die from? Oh, some mobster mowed me down during the middle of a failed bank job. And how'd you die? Paper cut.
I got paper cut. I worked at the bank. It wasn't because of the robbing, though. I don't know why I don't know what that accent was.
What
but,
was
you know.
that accent?
I don't know.
Nice. I like it. I just went into a different time and a different bank. Oh
It
my
was
God.
like 1950s, like New York or whatever.
That was not New
I
York.
don't
was
remember
thinking-
what accent
I
I
was
did
thinking
actually.
1920s and
I-
like old timey, like what was it, Babyface? What's his face? Who would go and like rob the banks with a Tommy gun? I forget.
Babyface Nelson.
Was that it? Yes.
And Machine Gun Kelly and
There you go.
Bonnie and Clyde and Ma Parker and her boys.
That's what I was
Yeah,
picturing.
as soon as I stopped saying that word, the line, I forgot what accent I had used, so I couldn't even tell you what I was trying to do in the moment. So
Sounded western.
Okay, so they have gone far and wide from what we were talking about. So they're apparently picking that up for me. I've been a bad influence on them.
It
I'm
happens.
I'm going to bring it back around. Thank you for watching.
Check out the Hodcast that we did. Link will be up there above Randy's head.
Yes.
and we're also doing a Q&A, so I don't know if that's going to be posted before or after this.
Oh, it's going to be after.
It's gonna be after this
So
one, yeah.
After
your
this one.
questions, we're going to answer.
So if you haven't already submitted your question, sorry, too late, had your chance, muffed it.
We'll answer it in the
Oh,
comments
that's
anyway, though.
sad.
You just won't get it in video form.
Yeah, we
But-
still like the question.
But we still want you to subscribe.
Please do, yes. And we're good?
We're good.
All right. Later.
Bye-bye.